Hi, and welcome to a tutorial on how to create your own sound library from scratch. So in this lesson, we're going to learn how to name our samples in order to prepare them for our sound library. And then we're going to uh, dive right into Kontakt and see how we can create zones by assigning samples to keys on our keyboard, and then how to loop the sounds and program the library. So the first thing that we want to do is to make sure that we start with really good samples. So in this case, I'm working on a acoustic bass sound library. As you can see, I recorded different notes, and the way I name the samples is crucial. It's really important. You need to be very organized when you start dealing with a large number of samples. So in this case, I wanted to start with a sustained arco bass. And so the way I name the samples is bass, sustained, the note, and the octave. If it was a down bow or an up bow, variation, this is in case I want different variations of the same sample, and the dynamic. These are all mezzo forte. So as you can see, you need to be very, very organized because you might end up with hundreds of samples if you do different articulations and different instruments, and it can quickly get out of hand. We'll also work on some pizzicato samples, and here, as an example, I have bass, pizzicato, name of the note and octave, and dynamic. Two dynamics for each note, forte and piano. So once you have all the samples ready, it's time to import them into your new patch in Kontakt. So let's switch to Logic, where I open an instance of Kontakt. Okay, here we are. I have a brand new instance of Kontakt without any presets loaded. So since Kontakt is a sampler, basically doesn't play any sound until we load some samples on it or some presets. So to start a new patch, since we're designing a new patch, you go to the icon there that looks like a floppy disk, and you're going to select new instrument. Next thing, I'm going to name my new library, and I'm going to name it bass sustained. Now it's time to open the hood of Kontakt and look underneath to program our patch. So I'm going to click on this icon here. That brings up basically the inside of Kontakt, which is the editor. So the first thing we need to do is to import our samples and then assign them to different keys. To do so, I need to open the mapping editor. Here I can see my full range of the keyboard, and eventually when I drag my samples here, I can assign them to different keys or key zones. So I'm gonna start getting my samples here, and I'm gonna start with my E. This is the low E, and this is the low E down bow, right? So simply drag it here, and I'm gonna assign it to my low E on the keyboard here. So now I created a zone. When you assign a sample to a key, that creates an automatic zone. As you can see, I can extend the zone boundaries by simply clicking and dragging on the zone itself. What's really important though is that that yellow key there, which is called the root key, is assigned to the original note, because otherwise our notes and our libraries will be out of tune when I play the right key, right? So this was an E note, so is assigned as a root key to the E. If you want to change the root key, you can just drag the root key up and down, but you want to make sure that it's on the right spot. I'm not going to drag the lower boundary of this zone lower than E, since I'm assuming that I'm working with the bass that doesn't have an extension, so the lowest note is E. Now let's take a look at our next sample, and we are gonna have an F sharp. So I'm gonna just drag the F sharp sample, and I'm gonna make sure again that is set to the F sharp as my root key. So you're gonna do this for all the samples. For now we're dealing with only the down bow samples. We're gonna deal with the up bow samples later. So I'm gonna keep doing this, and I'm gonna speed up the video so that we can jump to the next technique.